Welcome to day one of the Rich Method series. I am so excited to be talking today about how to think like Whole Foods, how I got 1,000 people to move toward me in the last 9 months. So, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, you're going to learn three key things in this training. And what I want to be sure of is that I tell you, number one, the three things that you're going to learn, I'm going to prep the next one because this is a 12 video series. So if you're up for a marathon, you're going to love this. And what I find is that most of my clients, they will binge watch half a dozen of my videos and then they have sold themselves on knowing they want to work with me. That's the point of the series. And that's what I want to say out the gate is I'm actually going to share with you the strategy and why I'm doing this series. When I watch other people create content or I watch their videos or reels or their emails, I always wish I knew where does this fit in their strategy and why are they doing it? So I'm actually going to pull the curtain back and tell you exactly why I'm doing this series and why I'm doing it the way I am. So let's just cover that first. I am doing a 12 video series for a couple of reasons. This is our 17th year anniversary of being in business. Derek and I started our business in April 17 years ago. And also, we hit this big milestone in our business. We had 1,000 people move toward us in the last 9 months. And I thought, you know what? I could be a typical overachieving entrepreneur, psychopath who's addicted to success, and I could just hit the next goal, go climb the next mountain, or I could pause, do a victory lap, and I could talk about what I did right, what I did wrong, not only for myself, but for you all. The other thing that I thought about, and it actually wasn't the initial reason, but it hit me during the weekend and the few days I had between announcing this and executing this, I realized I'm going to take these 12 videos. I'm going to put it in the mastermind that I run. It's going to be the foundational principles that everyone can start with. They can then watch the videos and come to the calls with specific questions about their business. And I can have each of these videos turned into reels for social media. I can have notes and 3 levels of action items created for the mastermind. So it's giving me a front facing strategy. So people on social media are going to be able to see bits and pieces of this and get a feel for who I am. And I'm going to be talking about how important it is to demonstrate and let people see you in action before they pay you. And then for the people who've already paid me and are in the year-long mastermind, I'm going to give them more value and I'm going to break down for them the 12 things that I know are so important for them and 3 levels that they can execute because there's people that come into the mastermind at different levels. So that's why I'm doing this. So now let's go to the 3 things that you're going to learn during this series. And I put this on social media and I have it right in front of me here for my notes as well. So we're going to talk about how to think like Whole Foods. What does that mean? How you define who you're going to create offers and content for. Most people are not intentional enough about this one. And then how do you create an entry point offer? What is an entry point offer? Because most people confuse this with a beginner offer. They are not the same. So first things first, in order to do really well in business, especially online, and I will say if somebody is wanting to create a very successful local business, there are similar strategies and there's crossover, but the way we present ourselves online is entirely different than how we present ourselves in person. And so I want to make that distinction clear right off the bat. So when I decided to build out a whole new division of our business about a year ago, I took myself through the same process I took myself through 17 years ago in 2019 when we built a publishing division. And I want to tattoo this on your heart and mind. I want you to always come back to this, that 10 years from now, when you're reinventing yourself or you're burning your business down and building a new one or adding a division, that you always say to yourself, I have to think like Whole Foods. So 17 years ago, I had no business experience. I was raised by entrepreneurs. I was in their businesses every single day. I had not learned business. I was a straight A student who had went overseas. I was a volunteer in my 20s. I came back to the US and I had no experience. I had no degrees. I had no work experience. I had no business entrepreneurial experience. I simply had potential. And so, one of the things that I thought about was the smartest thing I can do is to put myself in rooms where people already have money, who are already successful, already know what they want, are already on the road. This is how Whole Foods thinks. How many of you have ever shopped at Whole Foods? How many of you know what Whole Foods is? So I'm a big fan of Whole Foods. I pay top dollar for food. I eat organic. I'm crunchy and health nut in all the ways. It's how I was raised. I spend way more money than's probably necessary because I care about health. Yeah. So Whole Foods has a few things that they keep in mind when they open a new location. And I have the stats in front of me. I'm probably just going to say it from memory, but it's quite incredible. They have a very specific thing. Whole Foods knows who they are. They're not oblivious to who they are. They do not sell bargain bin food. They are not a grocery store or a health food store for people on a budget. They're not for people who want a good deal. They're for people like me who care about their health and do not mind spending money on the best of the best. This is the way I see it. I'm going to spend money now or I'm going to spend money later. Some people go cheap up front and then they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars with doctors. I do the other way around. So Whole Foods, in no alternate reality, says to themselves, you know what? We're going to go into neighborhoods that have lower priced houses where people are in a lower tax bracket. They do not go into neighborhoods with uneducated people. Whole Foods has these requirements. They go into affluent neighborhoods, people who make the most money. They go into neighborhoods where people are highly educated. They go into neighborhoods that are the shopping center is already established. They do not like to see a plot of land 10 miles from where everybody else is already shopping and say, this is where we're going to build a building and then we're going to bring support businesses alongside us and we're going to train people to go from here to over here to shop with us. They do not do that. They go to where there's already an established hub of activity. People already have a habit of going to this area and spending money, and now they're one more option. So in 2019, we moved from Sicily to New Orleans. And all the research that we did in moving to New Orleans is that it was very difficult to get into a good neighborhood. The housing market was insane. And I'm not talking about buying a house, I'm talking about renting a house. You could not rent a house to save your soul. Like you needed to get in with who knew and who's what. Like you had to get in the inner circle, right? So, knowing this, when we landed, we stayed in the top floor of this gorgeous hotel in the thick of all of that is New Orleans. And we said we're going to do this for a month. So we had this huge, like, what would you call it, the big suite in the hotel. We had the top floor and we could spread out, and we said we're going to be here for a month and we're going to look for a house. So Derek's job was, he was like on all these lists. The second something became available, they told him. And the second you found out, you literally had to go look at it right then and there. You had to drop everything, get the babies, and go look. My job was this, as I would say, Derek, as soon as you find out, book, like set the time and let's go. If we have any wiggle room at all, I want to go look at walk the neighborhood for 2 hours in advance, because I want to know who I'm living with, because I don't know New Orleans. I'm new to the place. I want to get a lay of the land. So this had been going on, and one day he got this call, and I already had an idea because I'd been walking New Orleans so that I could get a feel. I knew that there was a good chance that this was the one. But I said, I'm going to go right now. You stay with the boys. I'll call you. We'll meet up right before. I went to lunch and then I was walking and I saw Whole Foods. This Whole Foods was 2 blocks from the house we were interested in renting. I called him. I said, get the boys. This is the one. There's a Whole Foods in the neighborhood. Okay. If there's a Whole Foods in the neighborhood, there's no riffraff in the neighborhood, if you know what I'm saying. And he started laughing. He said, okay, let's go. We got that. We walked into the house. I didn't even look in the bedroom. I walked right in. I met the realtor and I said, what do you need in order to secure this house? And he said, first and last month, right now, cash transferred while we're standing here. So right then and there, we did it. We wanted the house because we had the same standards as Whole Foods. I want you and your business to have the same standards as Whole Foods. I'm going to get very real with you and I'm going to say something that's not popular. It's not politically correct. It's going to this in and of itself is very polarizing, which is exactly what I need in my business. I need people who are like, she's for sure the one, she's for sure not the one. Yeah, this is what works well for me, because people in the middle, they'll waste your time. The ones who are like, she's all right, I don't know, kind of like her, I'm not sure. Those are the same people that waste your time. If you create a business, if you create even a post on social media, if you create an offer and you are not thinking like Whole Foods, you will be barking up the wrong tree. If you decide that being in business and showing up every day for people who don't already have money, who are not already educated on what you do, not already aware, they're not aware buyers. They're not aware that they want this. They want what you've got. If you decide to have a bleeding heart for the beginner, for the uneducated and the unaware, you will go broke. You will not be successful. I'm just going to tell you straight up, it will not work. Just like Whole Foods knows that they will not be successful, no matter how much money they pour into a location, if they put it in a poor neighborhood with people who are unaware that their health matters, who are uneducated about the importance of supplements and organic food, they will fail. They will fail. So, having said all of that, do a little audit, do a little internal mental audit for yourself of yourself. Do you love helping the beginner? Do you love helping people who have no money? Do you love helping people who don't know they need you? Do you love the idea of being an evangelist for your business, for your perspective, for your services, for what you do? Do you love this idea of being a missionary in a foreign land and staying there for decades to convince people that they should want and need what you have? Because if that is you, I'm not the right person for you. Because all of my teachings and all of my trainings are going to be counter to that. There are tons of people online and off who will be like, yes, you're a wonderful person. You just keep doing that. Nobody has any money anyway. Nobody knows anything anyway. You're going to get lots of gold stars and you're going to go to heaven if you just keep with these people. There's plenty of people who tell you that. I'm going to tell you the straight up truth. It's not going to end well for you. And it's not even going to start well. And it's going to be super frustrating in the middle. 100% of the experience will be what you don't want. Unless you're one of those people who loves misery and suffering and all of those things. I'm guessing that's not why you're here. You're not. I don't pull those people in. Does this make sense? If you do not make everything in your world, in your business, every piece of content, every offer, absolutely everything you do for people who are already on the path, who already know they want what you have, who've actually already tried to get it, who've already spent money with your competitors, already tried and failed, already aware, already have money to invest in that. That's where we're at. Yeah. Okay. This has to be foundational. This cannot change ever. We do not ever deviate from this. And this is why we're covering it on day one, because everything I'm going to teach you through this series, this has to be true and constant. The second you dip, the second I see one of my private clients have a post that dips and they start talking to those other people, I go, whoa, 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 stop now. Don't do it. Okay. We established here, is this clear? This has to be your gospel truth. It just has to be. Okay. Now let's go on to the second thing. I want to make sure that I cover exactly what I said I was going to cover. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to identify or define who we create offers and content for. And I actually have a scale I want to share with you. I wrote this all out because I want this to be clear for you. And I'm actually going to do this whole chart for my mastermind members and for my private clients. Okay, so I think of everyone lives somewhere on a scale of 0 to 10. Everyone on the internet, everyone you encounter, they're on a scale of the 0 to 10. Now, I like 10 represents like people getting the thing they want, them getting the success, them losing the baby weight, them getting in their size 4 jeans, them hitting their income goal in their business, them writing their book, them meeting the love of their life. 10 is people getting what they want, what they paid you for, right? So 10 is the ultimate. 10 is where we want to travel to with our clients. This is the promised land. This is the land of milk and honey. This is where everything we want lives. So this is the scale. And I want to define this for you, and I want you to define it for yourself, because once you have this defined, and honestly, I recommend putting this on a piece of paper and putting it on your fridge, putting it on your desk wall, putting it where you see this over and over, because it's so easy to stray. So a 0 to 2, they don't even know that they want what you have. They don't know they want it. They're unaware and they're uneducated. They don't even know. Like for me, if I'm selling how to network like the rich, a 0 to 2 person doesn't even know what networking is. They've never been networking. They've never been a member of a networking event. They don't know what networking is. They're unaware. They don't know it's important for their business. They don't have any friends that network. They're a 0 to 2. A 3 to 4, they have an awareness of what it is. Like, oh yeah, I've heard of networking. They have no clue they need it. And they definitely don't want it. Yeah. It's like, I have some awareness. I'm fine. I've lived without it. I don't need it. I definitely don't want it. I'm definitely not like, I'll do anything to get this, right? That's because that's ultimately the kind of buyers that we want. So once somebody gets to a 5, they have this level of awareness. They know it exists. They have this idea that they need it. They're beginning to realize that they want it because it's a key component for them arriving to their final destination, them getting the outcome they need and want. They haven't figured it out yet. Okay. So at a 5, somewhere in a 5, they're banging their head against the wall. And they're in this state where they still believe if they try harder, they could figure it out on their own. Anyone ever talk to a potential client who's in that state? So there is a stage where people still believe that they can figure it out on their own. They can get it done on their own. I think if I just, eat a little bit cleaner and eat a little less food, I think I can drop these last 10 pounds. I think I can do it on my own. I just got to try a little harder. Got to be a little bit more disciplined with it. I don't like to work with people who are between a 0 and a 5. The people between a 0 and a 5, and you're going to define this, what this looks like for your business. A 0 to a 5 people, they require the most energy, the most work, and the most effort, because you're going to have to educate them. You're going to have to make them problem aware. You're also going to have to um, try to get them to spend money on something they've never spent money on. This is new behavior. This is exactly what Whole Foods is unwilling to do. They do not want to train people on new behavior. They don't want to train them to drive to a new location that they've never driven to. They don't want to get them to spend money on stuff they've never spent money on. This is new buyer behavior. And let me tell you, this takes long periods of time and huge amounts of energy and effort. Okay. I'm guessing that you have better things to do with your life. If you're married, if you're raising kids, if you want to have a life, if you have hobbies, if you like to be happy, if you want to enjoy this life, do not go after people who are on a scale of 0 to 5. You will I'm going to tell you a few things that will happen. You will dislike people. Okay. You will literally say, I hate everyone. You will dislike people big time. You will wonder why you started a business. You will really begin to want, you'll be like, you know what? I think I'd rather have a job. I think I'd rather be homeless. I think I'd rather be anything but this right now. You will question why you're trying to have a business. And I'm going to be straight up with you. People who do this, they go after 0 to 5 continuously, especially women over 45. The health begins to take a hit. We cannot be healthy when we are trying that hard to educate and convince and evangelize people who just don't get it. When we're trying to take money, squeeze money out of something that's got no money to squeeze out of it. Yeah. It's hard. It's really, really hard. So what's beyond the 5? Beyond the 5 is where I like to live. Okay. I like to focus on people who are a 6 to a 9.9. As you can imagine, if you get clients who are at a 9, getting them to a 10 is a lot easier. Let me give you an example. So when we were full blown publishing, and I had people who would fill out a little form because they wanted to publish their solo book with us. I had specific questions, and I could always spot someone who was a 9. Someone who was a 9 said this: I've already written my book. A lot of people talk about writing a book. A lot of people start a book. A lot of people have a book that's sitting on their desktop. Not a lot of people finish writing their book. So I've written my book. I actually already hired an editor who did a bad job. I tried to create the cover myself, and it looks like I did. And I realize I need someone who does this all day, every day to help me do this. That's someone who's a 9. They've finished the hardest part. They have already bumped their head and stubbed their toe. I remember one lady said, I hired a cover designer. I spent $4,000 and I never got the file. I never got the cover. That is someone I know she's going to be a great client because she has already went through enough BS to be ready to go. Okay. I can tell you who wasn't in a 6 to a 9.9. I haven't written my book yet, but I've wanted to write my book for 17 years. Yeah. Well, I'm probably not going to get you to do anything new. If you haven't been able to do it for 17 years, I ain't no Jesus, right? I'm not going to be able to perform miracles with you. So 6, what is a 6 type of person? 6 to 9.9. These are people who no longer need convincing. Okay. So 6s have at least spent some money trying to get this thing or accomplish this thing. So this is one of the questions I ask people, whether I'm in the DMs, whether I'm on a sales call, whether it's just on social media in the comment section. What have you already spent money on? This is a key question. What have you already spent money on in your path to losing 100 pounds, to writing your book, to whatever the end result is? If they say, I haven't, you're probably not going to be the first person. So a 6 is someone who says, I've done this. I've hired a book coach. I've hired a personal trainer. I hired a therapist. They've hired someone. They pulled money out of their wallet. So the 6 to 9.9, they have varying levels of that, right? Someone who's at a 6, they've just started. Someone who's at an 8 and 9, they've spent a lot of money and a lot of time working to achieve this thing. And they are already convinced they're not going to figure it out on their own. Figuring it out on their own, that went out the window a long time ago. So these are not people who will get in a conversation with you and just be like, well, thanks for your time. I think I'll just keep trying to do it on my own. Yeah, that won't happen when you have your scale of 0 to 10 written out and what their behavior is and what their comments and their wording and their thinking sounds like. Have this written out because you can qualify people before you get into a 30-minute conversation with them. You can qualify them before they get on a sales call. You can qualify them in the DMs. You can qualify them in the comment section on social media, but you need to have this scale written out. What is the behavior on each of these levels? What is their thinking, right? And I want you to be clear that if you create a single offer for someone who's lower than a 6, they will not upsell. Let me just tell you that straight up. You might be able to squeeze 10, 20, or $30 out of them. They won't upsell. They won't give you a testimonial. They will not promote with you on social media. They will not do anything beyond that. If you can perform a small miracle and get someone from a 0 to 5 to spend any amount of money with you, that it will not have a continuation. And in these 12 days, I'm going to show you how to have a continuation because this is really the key. All of this makes sense. The scale of 0 to 10, writing this out and understanding where they are, where their mind is, where their behavior is, and then focusing on the 6 to 9.9. This is important. You're going to keep this in front of you. Now, let's look at how do you create an entry point offer, keeping in mind thinking like Whole Foods and having the scale in mind. The number one thing people tell me when I say you need an entry point offer, they say, oh, okay. So that one's for beginners. Is that what you're saying? I need to start with people who are beginners and then walk them through. No. An entry point offer and working with beginners are not one and the same. Mm-mm. An entry point offer, I define it like this. It's an offer that people are willing to buy before they know, like, and trust me. They don't have to know me. They don't have to like me, and they don't have to trust me. An entry point offer is an irresistible offer, and they feel stupid for not buying it. Most entry point offers are under $100, but $100 and lower is not an automatic sale. Let me say that. I see this all the time on social media. I love social media because I get to people watch like crazy. I can see the Sally Sue who thinks just because her offer is $77, it's going to sell like hotcakes. It will not sell like hotcakes just because it's $77. It will sell like hotcakes when it has the key components of an entry point offer and an irresistible offer. So an entry point offer means this is an easy place for you to enter my world with a credit card. And let me be clear, people can be in your world and not pay anything, but when they are in your world and they've paid you any amount of money, that's a different game. I can tell you over 17 years, there's been different ways that we have used freebies, the different ways we've used free events, free trainings. Okay. This is what I can tell you is that you could get 500 people to a free training and have 0 of them convert right now. There's free people and there's paid people. And what you want to do is to cross people over into the paid. And once they've crossed over into the paid, what I can tell you is they will buy from you over and over again. They will swing, they will upsell if you get a few things correct. So, what are those few things? You have to stay in the 6 to 9.9 group, and you have to know them very, very well. You need to know them inside and out. How do you get to know them? You observe their behavior. You have conversations with them. You're in the Facebook groups that they hang out in. You are wherever they are, you are. You're observing them, you're talking to them, you're listening to them, and you're using their inspiration as your inspiration. You're using their words as your words. When people try to sell to a group of people that they have no interactions with, I'm like, yeah, good luck to you. It doesn't work like that. They're going to know that you don't get them. They're going to know you can't help them. So you have to know them inside and out, and you have to be aware of something that is missing that you can provide for them that they haven't been able to provide for themselves. You have to be able to give them one win. An entry point offer, a good entry point offer, gives this group of people that we're focused on one win. In one way, you demonstrate you know what you're talking about. You're not just some wackadoo on the internet who talks to chat, spits out some BS content that anyone on the internet could have posted. No, you actually know how to help them get a result. An entry point offer gives them a win and allows you to demonstrate you know your stuff and then to believe that you know your stuff. When people create offers for 2 different groups of people, if they're like, my low ticket is for these people and my higher ticket's for these people, I go, no, we're not talking to 2 people. We're not talking to 2 kinds of people ever. We're always talking to the one group of people that we've defined. We are just creating easy entry points, and then we have more advanced points. Do not make that mistake because they won't swing. So, an entry point offer is so specific that they're like, I think she gets it. So specific. It is easy to say yes to. They feel stupid for not saying yes, and it gives them one win. Now, the other thing with an entry point offer, I'm going to make this really, really clear. There's 2 key components. You have to talk about it at nauseum. Like you have to talk about it so much, you're sick of yourself. And after they buy it, you have to immediately invite them into something else. It has to be a very quick upswing. People who wait too long to invite them to the next thing, lose them. And when somebody who's a 6 to a 9.9 says yes to a $33 offer just to see if you're the real deal, but then you don't invite them to something else, this is what they assume. You know what you're doing, but you're incapable of leading them. I'm just going to tell you, people from a 6 to a 9.9, they require strong leadership, real leadership. I so rarely buy something or invest something with someone who can lead me. They default to me leading. If you want to do business with people who are already wealthy, already educated, already problem aware, already self aware, already successful, who are strong leaders who will tell everyone who's important in their world about you, you had better be able to lead them. And the second they doubt your leadership, they're out. You might know how to help them publish their book, but you don't have the ability to lead them. I'm uninterested in spending money with people where I have to lead myself. I'm good. I'll do that for free. I do that every freaking day. So let's go to the first point. I said you have to talk about it a lot. And this is what we're going to go into tomorrow. Okay. So tomorrow I'm going to cover what posting on social media needs to look like right now. I can give you historically what it's looked like for the last 10 years, but it's really unimportant. What matters is what's working now. There's a level of communication that is necessary to sell people on social media, to sell people through the internet. It's a level of communication that is not practiced by most people. Most people think, I have an offer, I'm on social media, I posted about it 7 times in a 42-day period. I don't know why people didn't buy. It's not how it works. I'm telling you, if I could post 7 times in a 42-day period and I would sell 100 offers, like, yeah, sign me up, right? Who wouldn't do it? So let's talk about a little bit of the prerequisite, and then we're going to deep dive tomorrow. A couple of things you need to know in preparation for tomorrow's session is, what is your audience used to? You have trained your audience, right? Whether it's an email list or a social media or a podcast, a YouTube channel, whatever it is, you have trained your audience. You have shown them who you are, and they have adapted. So, is your audience used to you communicating on a regular basis? Are they used to you posting regularly, consistently? Is it easy for someone to look at your profile, your banner, your bio, and your post, and to know immediately and quickly what you do for a living, what you offer them? Is this just so easy? Have you trained them to sit and scroll and to just consume your content? Have you trained them to buy off your content? And have you trained them? And this might actually be one of the more important things to identify. Have you trained them to talk back to you? Is this a one-way conversation? Is your email list and your social media following and your YouTube channel, are these one-way channels where it's like a broadcast? You speak, but they don't speak back. Do your people talk back to you? I want you to do a little self audit before we go into tomorrow's session, because you're going to need to know these things. What is my audience used to? How consistently do I communicate? How obvious is it when you hit my stuff what I do? Are they used to buying from me on social media, and are they talking back to me? If none of these are true, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? This is what everyone must learn in having an online business, but it's important that you know what is, that we know where we're starting from, because I'm going to then be able to tell you what to do. And tomorrow I'm going to talk about how you train your audience to buy from you, how you train them to talk back to you. And then in future sessions, I'm going to train you on how to get them to actually promote with you and for you. So, to wrap up this session, this is what's important. Are you thinking and behaving like an entrepreneur and a business owner who's set up for success? Are you thinking like Whole Foods? Or are you wanting to be Whole Foods, but you're thinking like the dollar store? You got to be really honest. Do you have a bleeding heart for the beginner, for the uneducated, for the unaware? Do you want to become an evangelist and convince people that your work is important and that your work makes a difference and that you can give them something they don't even want? Or are you ready to be completely focused on people who are already aware, already educated on what you do, already convinced, already want it, need it, can't stop trying, investing, and pushing toward that thing they want so much? And do you have an entry point offer? Do you have an easy way for people to say yes to you? Because here's what I want to make really clear, okay? You all who are watching this, every person who spent money with me in the last 17 years, everyone who moved toward me in the last 9 months, they took a risk on me. Even by you watching this video, there was a chance this video was going to be a waste of your time. That you could have been doing something better with your time. That there was a chance that I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. You get nothing of value and you're like, yeah, she said a few inspirational lines that I could read off of a bumper sticker. She said things that I already knew, and she didn't help me go any further. Every single person who pulls out their credit card is risking something. Every person who gives you some of their time and attention, they're risking something. You have to have an offer that makes it feel like it's not a risk, like it's not something they can't recover from. It has to be so insanely specific. So, do you have an entry point offer? And if not, I want you to begin thinking about this. I would do it. I personally would do an entry point offer as a low ticket offer, but not a low ticket offer that's for the beginner or for anyone outside our 6 to 9.9. I'm going to give you an example of what I did in the entry point offer. I actually made a mistake on my entry point offer when I first rolled everything out. And here's what I want you to know. You're going to make mistakes too. The people who are like, I'm going to get my messaging right in my brain, in my office, in my notebook, and when I have it all dialed in, then I'm going to put it out publicly. I'm like, yeah, no. Trust me when I say it doesn't work like that. The people who are like, I'm just going to sit here and brainstorm offers and I'm going to chit chat with AI until I have this most perfect offer and then I'll put it out. That's not how it's done. It's in motion. And the reason most people can't be successful or can't have a very lucrative business is because they cannot and they're unwilling to fail publicly. I have failed publicly so many times. And I did so in the very first offer I created for Network Like the Rich. So when I rolled out my very first offer for Network Like the Rich, it was called the 12-Day Networking Challenge. I sold it around 70 times, 70 people bought it. And after some reflection, we realized, that's not a good entry point offer. And here's why. It was too long. It was too complex. It was too advanced. Most people did not finish it. Most people did not upsell from that offer. And most people could not say, like, I got a big win from that. They were not singing my praises after that. Here's what I realized. I was trying to teach them 12 things about networking instead of just one thing about networking. That was my bad. Now, this also is what you have to consider with your entry point offer. If you're wanting to over deliver and be the overachiever and that people pleaser starts to come into play, what you can do is try to include too much in the entry point offer instead of the measurement of success being they get one thing moves forward. Okay. So we decided to change it and we made our entry point offer Rich Mixer. The other problem with the 12-day networking challenge is it wasn't a lot of interaction with me. And what we have learned is that once people interact with me, then they will keep moving through our offers and through our funnels much easier. So we decided to switch it to Rich Mixer. So we made Rich Mixer. When we started off Rich Mixer, it was $9 a month, and you could come to you have choice of 4 networking events a month, and you were interacting with me on the video, and I was helping you refine your ask. Now, in the 12-day networking challenge, I pulled one thing out of that and made that the star of Rich Mixer. Because what I realized is most people, they actually don't know how to present a good ask at a networking event. They think they are. It sounds good on paper. It's the format that BNI gives. Other people would be like, oh, bravo, but nobody's giving them referrals. So I decided to just fix this one thing. They're in a group, they're with me, and I reflect back to them, that's not a clear ask. This is a clear ask. That became the winner. That is and was and will continue to be our entry point offer. That's the best place for people to come into our world. They get to interact with me. I get to show them how to improve their ask. And then they go make the ask and they get to experience what happens when people can actually understand clearly what they're asking for and they can get something. And then they're like, oh, she's a genius. I like her. What else she got? So what's your entry point offer? The other thing that I want you to look at is this. None of us want to admit that the buck stops here, okay? But at the end of the day, who we are being day in and day out is the most important thing. And tomorrow we're going to get into that. I want you to be honest about who you're being in the online space. Most people squander the opportunity that social media is. Most people have completely neglected their email list. Most people are not creating amazing content for the right people. We're going to look at what's most important, what's unnecessary, and the biggest mistakes that I've made and that my clients have made. Okay, so let's do some questions. Barbara Smith, do you have a question?
Good morning, I do. So I love the idea of the entry point offer and inviting people pretty readily to the next thing. Does it have to be a paid next thing? Do I have to have a bunch of content already lined up so that I can invite them and that they can pay me more money? Because I'm working on refining my first product and I would
Mhm.
like to offer them a community, like kind of a VIP community, but do I have to charge them for that or how should that work?
That's a good question. So you don't have to, but I would consider doing it. So and we're going to talk about this in the 12 days, this idea of continuity and recurring, like ongoing income is really key because there's getting a sale today and then there's getting a sale that means they're paying us a monthly fee for a certain amount of time or ongoing, right? So what I would consider is that when we create a paid community versus a free community, it gives them a different feeling. So, yes, do I make money and you make money? Absolutely. But this is the other thing I can tell you, my free community versus my paid community, it's a very different thing that happens, right? There's a different identity, expectations, and outcomes that happen because that's been created. So, what I would say, Barbara, is I would consider it. But then as we go through these 12 days, I think that it's going to become more and more solidified on what the right option is for you.
Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask? Yes, Lex.
Hello.
Hi.
So speaking of those offers, how do you feel? Because I have a membership as well, but I bumped it to 97. And there's a lot of people that I get in touch with that don't necessarily know me yet. So I was toying with I did offer it for a while, tried for $1, but I'm wanting to offer for half the price the first month. So like try the first month for 47. How do you feel about that?
Okay, so let's talk about this. This kind of goes back to what I was saying. There's people who think that the price point is going to do it. Yeah. And we have tested this ourselves. We had this offer, gosh, this was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And we decided to do this join for the first month for $1 thing. And this is what I will tell you. It failed miserably. And this is what I realized through that the reason why people weren't willing to pay $1 to have a month with me in this membership is because they were from the 0 to the 5.9. And people who are at a 0 to a 5.9, it doesn't matter if it's $1, it doesn't matter if it's $47, $97. The price is irrelevant. And this is why I tell people, just because the price is low does not mean it will sell like hotcakes. So this is what I do, Lex, whenever I am thinking about how do I build up this membership, and if I'm not going to touch the price, what actually needs to happen. So you all ready? I want you all to sit down, and I'm holding your hand, and I've got a cup of matcha tea for you, and I've got a little cookie for you. I want to give you the honest to God truth. People are not going to say yes to our thing when we lower the price, and it's actually a bad idea to make it easier for them to come in. What you want to focus on instead is demonstrating that when they come into this, whatever they're experiencing now will be dramatically different. So if I was having major thyroid issues, if I was gaining 7 pounds a month for the last 10 months, if I could not function every day without losing it on my clients, my kids, and my husband, if I couldn't sleep more than 3 hours a night, and you had demonstrated for me and communicated enough times that though any one of those things would change, it wouldn't be about the price. It wouldn't be about, this is one more thing and I don't have time for one more thing. It would be like, everyone out of my way. I'm giving Lex my money because this cannot stay the same. This cannot continue. And I have seen her enough times. I've watched her enough times. I've binge watched her. I've listened to what other people have experienced with her. And I know this is going to make the difference. This is really the key. And we're going to talk about this. I'm actually going to dedicate 5 trainings on how you demonstrate you're the one before people pay you. And this is going to be a really key section for everyone who's like, I'm trying to get more people to say yes by, offering these incentives and prices. Are those important for offers? Yes, I use incentives and pricing all the time. In fact, if you join the Mastermind by April 30th, you get in for $5,000 for the year or $500 for the month, and that pricing goes away April 30th. And there's 10 spots. I use incentives and I use pricing and I have deadlines and all that. However, no one is going to join my Mastermind just because of that. That makes sense? So
Yes.
I'm going to demonstrate for the next 12 days that you can't live without me. That whoever's watching this video, they could get way faster results and they can become fluent in payment notifications. And this is going to be their foundation. They can access it anytime they want. And they're going to have me to ask personalized questions. Like, I'm going to demonstrate for them that I'm the one they've been waiting for. And that's going to be the key.
So if someone's new in my world, I can see your steps clearly. I can't see mine. So if someone's new in my world and they don't know me and I met them through a group, are you saying there has to be a time when they get to know me? I guess I'm trying to see how do I get them?
So what I would say is that your monthly membership at $97 is not what I would define as an entry point offer.
Got it.
Okay. Because an entry point offer is something someone can buy before they know, like, or trust me. And it's going to give them one immediate quick win. Okay. So for some of you, an entry point offer is going to be a PDF. It's going to be a one video thing on a very specific topic. An entry point offer it could be a lot of different things. And what I want you all to think about is like, what's the thing that I've told people about? And they're like, oh my gosh, that one thing made a huge difference. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. If I'm working with someone and I say, I'm going to give you one thing that will change the game for you, right? is you have to know how to introduce yourself at a networking event. Do you know how to introduce yourself at a networking event so people lean in instead of go, oh, I think I need to go to the bathroom. Oh, my friend just arrived. Oh, they like never want to talk to you again and they avoid you. That could be like another good entry point offer. I'm going to give you this way to introduce yourself so that people move toward you instead of run away from you. So, thinking about an entry point offer, most people actually have a hard time creating entry point offer because it is so tiny and we underestimate how big it is for them because this is our whole world. We do this, you do what you do with your eyes closed, right? You can solve giant problems. Being able to sliver it down to what is the first step of that giant problem, that's usually the key.
Very valuable. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a question here in the comments I'm going to address as well. So I was toying with you. I live in a small community. Yep. And I have many people telling me that everything I'm trying to do is going to fail. And we decided, so I've got okay. So, yes. So the mindset piece, right? That nobody's going to support you and telling you that you're going to fail. Should I keep pursuing it and hoping for the best? So, this is a great question. How many of you have had people who have told you this isn't going to work? Whatever idea you have, whatever business you have, whatever offer you have, whatever it is that you're doing, it's not going to work. What I can tell you is that nobody was betting on me and Derek when we started our business. Now, this is hard for people to believe when they meet Derek and I at this point. But I want to give you a little snapshot of where we were 20 years ago. Derek was 25 when I met him. He had just graduated from the U of A with an art degree, and he was painting art in a studio every day and hauling it to Scottsdale, Arizona to sell it in galleries. Okay. I was 29 years old when I met Derek. I had zero experience. I had no track record of success. I had lived overseas and I had malaria. So I have reverse culture shock coming back into the US. I'm literally crawling to the bathroom when malaria would hit me, relapses every single month. And we decided to get married, and we had no money, and neither one of us had a job, and neither one of us had a clue about the real world. I'm sure that people were placing bets that we would stay married for 5 minutes, and they definitely did not see us as a power couple who was going to build anything. But this is what I want you all to hear, and you in particular, Randy, is it does not matter what people think or believe of us. What matters is what we think and believe of ourselves. At the end of the day, I am the biggest cheerleader for myself. I am the biggest factor in my success, my thinking. So what I would recommend is this, is that you have at least one or two people whose noses are pointed in the same direction. When Derek and I were newlyweds living in Tucson, I'm going to tell you the truth. Actually, my mother-in-law drove to our house right after we got married. She sat on the couch and she was like, I feel like I need to have a talk with you kids. Like, you're not going to make it. You're going to starve. Right. What we decided to do is this. We decided not to be friends with anyone who was newlyweds, not to be friends with anyone who was in the same financial situation we were in, and no one who had the same years of experience in business, which was exactly zero at that time. We decided to make all of our interactions with people who were in their 60s, who had success, and who had money. And I also wasn't asking anyone to believe in me. I believed in myself first. Will you fail or will you succeed? You will absolutely succeed when you say, I will succeed. The way that I see it now, and you all will hear this story as these 12 videos go on, is that you don't figure out success once. It's something you have to figure out over and over because life will punch you right in the nose, right? I had a full-term stillbirth in 2018. I buried my daughter. We have went through the whole 2020 COVID thing. We have went through numerous moves overseas. We went through big family drama a couple years ago. Going through, getting malaria, perimenopause, like shit is gonna happen that can knock you back. But the reason why some people get back up and continuously make things happen is because they've decided there is no alternative. There is no other option. And this is what I've learned as well, is that I've learned how to take other people's criticism or lack of belief and use it as fuel for myself. You absolutely can be successful at anything you want to do. I will tell you, my son was watching a video the other morning of this guy who does videos about Pokemon, and he has over 1 million subscribers. You can be passionate about anything and you can be focused on anything. You can go after anything and you can be successful. That's the thing that didn't exist for our grandparents. It's a very different world, but you have to lock in and you have to be willing to be around certain people and not around others. You have to learn skill sets and then you have to apply it every single day. You have to do the brick by brick work. And most people are not interested in chopping wood and carrying water. But if you do, you can have a completely different life in 3, 6, 9, 18 months. That's what I know for sure. So I will see you tomorrow. We're going to talk about how do you talk about your offers, specifically, ideally an entry point offer. How do you communicate? What must it look like and sound like? And how do you make sure you keep talking to the 6 to the 9.9 and not dip and go back to the 0 to 5? Because that is what most people do. Go scroll your social media for 5 minutes. Most content is written for people from a 0 to 5. I shall see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.